Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. And if this is your first time, welcome to the channel. I'm John with Into the Wild Woodworks, and check that out. Ooh, just got some new hats. Pretty excited. Gotta show it off. Pretty excited, beautiful day out, and today we get started on a new project. I had a really good friend of mine, Alyssa, if you're watching, hey. She reached out to me. She's been starting to collect watches, and she wants a display box for them. So I think she saw one that I built for my dad. She liked it, and that's what we're gonna do. So she really likes the local walnut. So I think I got a neat piece of walnut picked out that we're gonna use. We're gonna have continuous grain wrapped all the way around it, put a glass top in it, miter the corners, put some decorative splines in there, and send it off to her. So without further ado, let's do it. Chose a nice piece of walnut that I think will look good with the grain wrap on this watch box. And if you're not familiar with what grain wrap is, it's essentially just the natural grain in the wood continuously wrapped all the way around the box. So it's a nice flow, and I think it kind of adds to the overall look of the piece. Also, you may notice that I've recently picked up a nice 15-inch planer, and it has been very nice having the larger planer around the shop. But it's also not been so nice having the larger planer around the shop. This thing weighs a ton. I think it weighs about 500 pounds and takes about everything I've got to scoot it around, so I think a mobile base is going to be in the near future. I've quickly discovered it's always a good idea to double check the angle of your table saw blade. Sometimes it gets out of whack, and it's always good just to double check it's set for 90 degrees. So I found one of the easiest ways to do this is using one of these digital angle finders. Here's a good tip for you. It always helps to plug your saw in. Be right back. Here's another helpful tip. It helps to not put your tripod in the way. I'll be right back. Now that all the sides have been cut to length, it's time to put a groove in the side panels to accept the bottom panel. I do this just by taking a pass on the table saw, and then I'll sneak up on it by scooching the fence over a little bit until it's a perfect fit for the bottom panel. Once that's done, I throw in the dado stack so I can cut out a recess for the glass panel to fit in the top. What you working on, Mary?
A bike.
A bike? Yeah?
The crank.
All right.
And the gears.
Yeah. We interrupt this broadcasting to share what Mary's working on. She is cleaning up an old bike.
Yup. It's nasty.
Okay, back to the show. All right, about to start in on putting in the dados for the dividers for in between the different watches. And got to make sure I don't mess up here. And what I mean by that is my setup that I have up here, how am I got this? I drop my board on, hovering over the router bit, and I feed it along this fence and back until it hits the back fence. Perfect. That works great. It's going to start in here, so I'm not going to blow out the top, and it's going to stop before I blow out the bottom. Great. So I can do that on this one, and then if I took my other board for the same box and I ran it the same way, which would be like this, put it on and feed it against this fence until it hits the back one. The issue is I've now done opposite corners of my box. So I just did one here and I did one here, and I flip it over. Well, box actually ends up going this way, so I've done one on this end and then one on this end. And the issue with that is if I'm off at all, it's going to show up and my parts aren't going to line up right. So what I'm trying to do is make sure that I use the same reference end when I'm putting my dados in, so that way my dividers will line up perfectly. It doesn't matter if my measurement's off, since I'm doing both from the same reference end, they'll still line up. So let's do it. My router bits tend to leave a bit of a rough edge on all the passes, so a little bit of work with the 1/4-inch chisel and good as new. So once all those grooves are cleaned up, it's time to glue the box up. And once it dries, I add some splines in the corner. Miter joints like these are not one of the strongest joints because it's mostly end grain to end grain, and it likes to separate relatively easy. So if you add splines like this into the corners, it strengthens that joint up a lot and you don't have to worry about it coming apart. Alright, so we just got the splines all flushed up and the lid cut off, and I noticed that I got a few areas where either the splines didn't sit in all the way or got a little chip out. I'm going to mix up a little wood glue and some walnut sanding dust, so I'll actually sand a piece of the same exact walnut so I can match the color as closely as possible. And we'll make kind of our own little wood putty filler. We'll put it in there, sand it down, and you won't even be able to know. So let's do it. Draw. Well, try that again. Ooh, okay. All right, so I kind of anticipated that I wasn't gonna have enough foresight when I started making all those cuts in the side panels, all the grooves for the dividers, and then doing that large dado cut for the glass inset. And I was right, I didn't have enough foresight. So unfortunately, I made a boo-boo. So let's take a look. On the base, I got the mortise cut for the hinge, and that looks great. That sets in there just how I want. Unfortunately though, when I did the top, like I said, I machined out a lot on the underside here so that way the glass could fit in there. Well, unfortunately, I don't know if you can tell, but now I don't have enough material to machine a mortise for the top part of that hinge. So on the back two corners there where the mortise needs to go for the hinge, I made some pieces like this, or I'm going to, rather, I just made a little mock-up. And it'll pop in there, and I can put that in place, and then now I have enough material in that back corner to machine a mortise for my hinge. And I think that'll work. Might not be perfect, not exactly what I wanted, but I think that'll get us there. So let's give that a shot. So brass screws tend to be pretty weak, and if you've ever had any experience using them, you know that they tend to want to break on you. So a trick that I learned years ago is to actually use paste wax. You put a little bit on the threads, it helps to lubricate it so it's easy going in and easy coming out. Hey, get your mind out of the gutter. What a good boy. What a good boy, Atlas. Yeah. How you doing, bud? You gonna help me out? You gonna help me sand? I'd really appreciate it if you would help me sand, because I don't like sanding. Yeah? Okay. Come on. Come on. Alright, time to add some finish. Decided to go with a Danish oil finish. I like that it still gives you that natural look, but it adds a little bit more protection than some of your other oil finishes. So we'll put a couple coats on this, assemble the box back together, and send it on its way. Alright, thank you all for making it to the end of the video. If you think I earned it, I would love it if you would hit that subscribe button. It makes all the difference to me. If you happen to like this watch box and would like one for yourself, I did make 2 of them, so there is one available. So send me a message. As always, thank you, and I will see you on the next build.